Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Chuck, which is the based on a true story film about the boxer who inspired Rocky. And this film was produced, partly written, and starring Liev Schreiber. So I'm assuming this was a big passion project for him. And when it really comes down to it, this was very much his film, and it was a big character study of this person. And this was directed by Philippe Falardeau, and overall, I think Falardeau did a very nice job of bringing this film together. I never once felt bored watching this film. They kept up the pacing. This film had some great energy to it, and overall, he did a very good job of telling this story and bringing this story together, even though it might not have been the most well written film, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but overall, I really feel like this film was well put together by the director in terms of telling the story and really keeping up an energetic pace. My only issue in terms of the direction was this film really didn't feel like it had too much of a drive to a focus point. So it wasn't really going anywhere specifically, and it feels a little bit of, say, just telling a bunch of stories together and just trying to help the audience enjoy this character. And they did very, very much so overutilize the voiceover for this film. And my biggest problem with that was that we get to see really inside Chuck Wepner, and you really get to see what's going on in his head while he's going through all this stuff, except when he does something wrong. Every time there is something that he did wrong, the voiceover just grazed over, and you don't get to really figure out what his motivations for doing that were. You don't get to figure out why he did that and how he feels about it. But everything else you get to hear, I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this, blah, 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 and just like, you never get to see that punch of him coming to some kind of realization until it was way too late for me to really get invested in that character anymore. And that was disappointing. And balancing that was pretty hard. And before I get into the actual writing of the film, Nicholas Baldor did the cinematography for this. This was a really cool looking film. This legitimately looked like it was made in the 70s. The grainy visuals and camera work really brought that and made it really feel like this was a film from the 70s. And I thought that was a fantastic job using different aspect ratios. And really, the shots, the colors, everything really brought you into this world, and you felt like you were there with him. And that was fantastic, and I really enjoyed that about this film. Now, there's 4 writers on this film, and usually at that point it's just writer by committee. I'm guessing nobody really got their full thoughts and direction of this story going into that. Was this an interesting story? It was. It was an interesting story. And was it interesting getting to hear how Chuck Wepner went about this whole entire journey of his and hearing from his perspective for a lot of it? That was interesting. But I did bring up that it felt lacking in certain areas. And that was really disappointing. And when you're looking at this film, this could have been so much better. It could have really been a fantastic biopic. But it was a fun and enjoyable and good biopic. And what could have been a deeper, more filled story would have been if you got to really see inside his struggles when you get to really see inside his triumphs. And he seems like overall a pretty likable guy based off of the voiceovers, but then you see what he actually does with certain things, and it's like, wow, you're not super likable anymore. And towards the end of the film, I was starting to lose a connection with him and not feeling bad for him, but just feeling like, you deserve all of this. And it wasn't being handled in a way where I felt really connected to him anymore. First half of the film, I was really enjoying it, and this was really well put together. In terms of the acting in this film, Liev Schreiber was fantastic. He was a real standout, and he's up there with some of the best performances of the year so far, for me at least, and I really enjoyed him in this film. His wife, Naomi Watts, is in it. Second billed actress in the film, very small part. And kind of, if she wasn't really involved in real life, I wouldn't think she would even be in this movie. It felt so like they're supposed to be like they beat you over the head. There's some kind of connection with them, but it's like don't really get it, but okay. And it does get repetitive after a while of seeing the same stuff and him getting hitting rock bottom so many times before he actually turns things around. Ron Perlman's in it. He has a fun supporting role. He doesn't get a whole lot of like deep scenes to work with, but he's fun in it. Jim Gaffigan is in this, the comedian, and he has a smaller role. Who I really, really liked was the actress who played his wife, who was a real standout and the emotional heart of this film. And she gets to really show her frustration and those emotions, which I really enjoyed. There's also an actor who played Sylvester Stallone in this, which was really distracting because it was like, it felt like they got this guy to be Stallone, and it sounded like they tried to recreate his voice, and it felt really weird. That felt a little off. The music in this film, though, was fantastic and really fit the time period, really felt that feel, helped you really get engrossed in this time, like the disco, and you're going into this club, and you feel like you're walking into that club for real with Chuck and really getting to feel that. And overall, this film was decently well put together. It looked great. The atmosphere and the style was fantastic. It's a very strong lead performance and also a supporting performance from the actress who played his wife. Overall, I wish this could have been more, and there's a lot of missed opportunities here to make this a truly great film, but it was a good film, and I enjoyed it. And if you just want to have a fun time, like watching a 70s period piece with a pretty interesting main character, I'd go out and see Chuck. I'm going to give Chuck a B minus.